Hi guys, it's Amber, welcome back to my channel. So this is episode 18 of the fertility episodes, which means this is the last official fertility episode. So before I start, I just kind of want to say thank you to everyone who sits here and listens to me quite literally bang on every week. I thought these were going to be 10-15 minute videos. I didn't think that I would sit here for half an hour, 40 minutes, and I certainly didn't think that people would actually sit and watch all of it, which I know that you do. Obviously I can see all the stats, I can see how long of each video people watch, and I have genuinely been completely overwhelmed. I thought at most I would get about 20 subscribers from this, so the fact that I'm nearing 100 is quite a big deal for me. I know in the grand scheme of things it's not a huge number, but for me it is massive. So thank you so much for sitting here and watching these with me every week, and for all your lovely messages. I receive an awful lot of them on Instagram, and you're all just amazing and make me feel so much better about my situation, about all of our situations, and just kind of reinstate for me why I sit here and do this every week. So yeah, thank you very, very much for listening to me, really. Before we start, if you haven't already, please do make sure that you have subscribed to my channel. I would very, very much appreciate it, and make sure that you give this video a big thumbs up if you like it. But yes, please make sure that you do subscribe and that you are following me on Instagram as well. So when I say these are coming to an end, what I mean is that every video from now on is not all going to be fertility. There are going to be other videos thrown in here and there. Obviously not everything in my life revolves around infertility. An awful lot of it does, but not all of it. So I'm going to start exploring kind of different routes, different videos, but I said to you a little while ago that obviously we were looking to start IVF again for round 2 at the end of January, February time. My period, however, was not coming, and I needed to have a natural bleed before we could even book in for our treatment consultation to get the ball rolling. So my period did arrive, so we can all do a big happy dance. Woo! She's here, and Flo is here. Sorry. Yeah, that happened. Which means we can now book our treatment consultation, which we will be having at some point this month, which means my next cycle, which could, for the record, be anything between like 4 weeks and 3 months by my standards, really. It's anyone's guess. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah. We'll all place bets. A little giveaway based on bets. So yeah, so we are going to be having our treatment consultation over the next few weeks, which means that realistically any time from 4 weeks today onwards, we could be starting round 2, or will be starting round 2. So what I am going to be doing is, rather than doing these kind of sit down fertility vlogs, I am going to be documenting the whole thing. I'm not going to do it all in secret like I did last time. This time I am going to vlog it all, so everything is literally going to be in dribs and drabs as and when it happens, so as I know you will know. So it will be a case of, obviously on my treatment consultation I'll vlog it, my stims, my scans, everything, but it won't all be in one big video like it was last time. It will be little bits, so you can kind of do this with me, but do bear in mind that I might not share everything. So say my scan is on the Monday, I might not upload it within the next couple of days. Obviously I don't know how this is going to go. There's things that I'm going to need to process, I'm going to need to get my head around, things like that, so just be warned on that front. But yeah, so that is kind of where these fertility episodes are going to be going. Everything is going to be a bit more vlog style. As much as I do enjoy just sitting down and talking, I do kind of want to just breach out of my comfort zone a little bit and start doing things a bit more adventurous, if you like. So yeah, so they are going to carry on, but obviously through different means. But it's good timing, really, because I think everything is kind of moving now. The ball has got rolling, so yeah, it's all really good. So fingers crossed, everything goes to plan, but yeah, so that's all in the next few weeks. So like I say, everything is going to branch out, but generally the weekly sitting down and talking to you about everything to do with infertility, that is kind of all coming to an end, and now it's going to progress, which actually I'm really excited about. I feel like this is my first YouTube chapter, if you like, and it's been a long 18-20 week chapter, so yeah, I feel like I'm ready to branch out a little bit now, and we'll see where it goes. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop talking to you all now. I promised that this week my final episode would be, how much does IVF actually cost? This is a question I have been asked so many times, from the word go, really. So that is what we're going to cover today. It's a complicated one, I'll tell you that now. If you want to get your notepads and pens, then that's fine, do that, get yourself all comfy, whatever. If you want to take notes, take notes. But I'm going to tell you now, you are not going to have a ballpark figure, you are not going to have IVF costs this much. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things. So I suggest you all go get your cups of tea, that you get yourself all comfy and sit down, and for the final time, officially, we will talk about all things vagina. Hi guys, welcome back. Hope you've all got your cups of tea and you're all sat and you're all nice and cozy, ready for this video. So I've opted for my pyjamas today, I hope you don't mind. Now one thing I will say before we start this is, do forgive me for having my phone in front of me. So the only reason I've got this is because everything is on here with regards to the cost. So everything that we're talking about today. So like I say, how much does IVF actually cost? Now, I'm quite interested to know... Shit. Just spilt my tea. Bugger. Well, thank God my phone wasn't there and it was in my hand. Moving on. Everything is on here regarding how much IVF costs. I think it would be quite interesting really to know kind of how much you think it is. Just, I know some of you will know, some of you have obviously been through it and things like that, but it's quite interesting. I think it's a shame that I can't kind of do like a guess, pause, this is actually the answer. But yeah, so it is quite interesting because I think people have a really varied idea of how much it costs. Like some people think it costs like a few £100s, other people think it costs like, we're talking like £20,000. Like there's a big scope for a lot of different answers depending on exactly what it is you're after. So IVF as a whole on its own would cost on average anything between £3,000 and £5,000. So if you want specifics, which is again why I've got this, so if you want specifics, the average price for a single round of IVF, so not ICSI, IVF, is £3,348, and the highest price currently just for IVF alone is £4,195, with the lowest being £2,650. Now I know that last bit isn't actually true. I think the lowest at the moment is £2,500, and I believe that is ABC IVF. But I am going to fact check that, and I'll put that down below. Now, the thing with IVF is you go in and you might need ICSI, which is an extra cost, so we'll get to that in a moment. But IVF itself, although that is the cost, you may need, on top of that, certain tests that need doing. So for example, I paid £35 for a blood test. A lot of clinics will make you have, I think it's things like just making sure that you are immune to things like your rubella, your mumps, that you've had all them, and certain blood tests doing if you've not had them within. So in my case, it was if I'd not had it within the last year, then I needed all of them, which was going to cost me an extra £100. But luckily, I was just within that window, and therefore I didn't need it doing again. So I only paid £35. But already you've got an extra £100, call it, on top of that. Not all clinics, word of warning, include the drugs in their prices. So IVF might cost, in this case, let's say £3,300, just for argument's sake. But what they don't include is the £1,200 worth of drugs that you potentially need. Most clinics, I think, would include that. I know it was included within my price, and I think most of the clinics that you look at do include it in their overall price, but some don't. So do bear that in mind. I think we were looking at, I think it was Bourne Hall, I think, and they had given a price for the actual IVF, for the procedure, for the egg collection, this, that and the other, and you go through and you add it all up, and then the drugs were separate to that. So you do end up looking at quite a bit of money. So let me just have a look. I'm going to just compare a couple of clinics for you. So let's go, for argument's sake, I'm not going to use my clinic in it because I don't want to be biased. So let's say Care Fertility. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through and I'm going to kind of show you the cost for different clinics. Different clinics offer certain things, and I think you can't just go for a clinic just based off price alone, because I think it's so much more than that. Like, it's a service that you're paying for, and I do think in some cases you get what you pay for. You also need to kind of weigh up what's important to you. So if you want counselling sessions included, like some clinics will give you, say, 6 free sessions at the end of your cycle if it doesn't work, you want to see whether or not that is included, whether or not that's an extra cost. And I say free like that because ultimately you're paying them an awful lot of money anyway, that they're going to have factored in that price somewhere and call it free. So Care Fertility is the first one we're looking at. So already, how much are the IVF pre-treatment costs? So you're going to have to pay for a consultation. So I paid, I think, £300 for my consultation. So here with Care Fertility, for example, their treatment costs, so their initial consultation is £205. So that is before you've even decided to go with them. That is going to see them, talk to them, see what they can offer you, see whether or not you're happy to go with them, and take it from there. So your initial consultation is £205. A scan is anything between £120 and £180. Semen analysis is £165. And then fertility assessments are £250 to £500. Obviously, I didn't go with this clinic, so I don't know how much of this is optional, but let's say you were going to go for everything here. So how much are IVF treatment costs? So if you were to go for natural IVF, I don't really know what they, obviously I don't understand what they kind of class as natural and non-natural. I know some places call it natural, but actually it's not natural. You're still on medication. Your dosage just isn't anywhere near as high as it would be somewhere else. So they're natural IVF. And again here it says prices are indicative only, but include monitoring, egg collection, embryo culture and transfer. They do not include the drugs and other optional costs. So here, the natural IVF on its own, $2,980 to $3,660. IVF, $3,000 to $3,500. And just to add, this is also just including things like, this is just including male and female. So you and your partner, this is not including donor eggs, donor sperm, anything like that. If you were to go for IVF with donor eggs, you're looking at between $5,750 and $9,750. And again, all the pre-tests, etc. there, so you're adding another few £1,000s on top of that. And then the IVF using donor sperm is $3,810 to $4,800. So it is super expensive. You then have additional costs. Now, I get a bit annoyed with these additional costs because I think there are a lot of different things that clinics like to throw into the mix when actually there's no scientific proof, if you like, that these things actually make any difference. There will be like a small group that they've tested it on, and in that small group it's made a difference, but that is not representative of everyone. It's not a big enough sample size to be able to say yes, this definitely works. Things like your glue, things like that. Some clinics really promote them, other clinics don't bother. Ultimately it's personal choice. If you want to try it, then that's fine, nobody's disputing that, that's fine, but be aware it is an extra cost that you don't necessarily have to pay. Again, it's personal choice. Nobody is sitting there forcing you to pay that. It is not compulsory. And so I think with a lot of these additional things, it is important that you make sure you know what you're accepting, that you want them, and that you're not feeling pressured into doing that. So here are IVF related additional treatment costs. You have an endometrial scratch, which is £300, surgical sperm retrieval, $1,850, and then your ICSI. So I'm going to come on to that in a minute. Then the freezing is anything between $600 and $1,350. There's so much. The embryo glue, $125 to $350. There's so much here that are just extras. ICSI, it's classed as an extra, But with some people you need it. So we were told that we would need ICSI, so we had to pay the extra. ICSI is often used when there's issues with the sperm. So in our case we have low morphology issues, but what they do is they kind of pick the best sperm and use that to fertilise it with the egg. So rather than just any and it being a free-for-all and a race of survival of the fittest, they physically choose the fittest and fertilise them, and hope that they do fertilise. So that's what ICSI is. You may not get, I say you won't get a choice. They will advise that you have it and explain why. If you don't have it and you need it, then you know your chances are obviously reduced. So here, just for the ICSI, is 1,150 to 1,250. So if you were going to have IVF and ICSI, you would be potentially looking at a maximum of £4,750 just for the IVF, including the consultation and things like that. Let's call it 900, 4,750. So you're looking at about 5,650, and that's just for the tests, the IVF and the ICSI, if you needed that. To then freeze any leftover embryos, you're then looking at another £1,350, potentially. That's the maximum. Yeah, you're looking at £7,000 there. And then the drugs, it doesn't even tell you how much the drugs are, but I can tell you that on average they are really, I'd say, about £1,000. So there you are, you're looking at £8,000, and that's just for IVF and ICSI. So that's expensive. So the only thing that's different really with that is if you were to take the ICSI off it. So you're still looking at about £6,000. You're still looking at about 6,500 without the ICSI, and that's just for one clinic. If you were to have a look at a different clinic, so let's have a look at Create. Again, so your prices are here, so let's have a look. So again, your pre-treatment costs. So your initial consultation, 385, you're at semen analysis, 140. So there you go, straight away, ballpark figure of about £500. IVF costs. The standard total cost of a natural treatment cycle is 3,625. So there we go. Male factor, if you have a fertility issue due to male factor, you may require additional support, such as ICSI. This is in the region of £1,000, so already you're on 4,600. It is really, it's extortionate, if I'm honest, it really is. But if you, like I say, have a look at the price of, you can look at all different clinics. So some clinics also do things where they offer, like you would pay about £16,000 and you would have unlimited IVF for a year, 2 years. I think it's a good thing. I mean, really, I can't see anybody putting themselves through more than 4 rounds in a year. So you are effectively getting your money's worth. Obviously, you run the risk. I say it's a risk. It's obviously the best outcome, but there is a chance that you would pay £15,000, £16,000, £17,000 and it worked first time. I think it's something we would perhaps consider if the next round didn't work. Because then I suppose, you know, can you put a price on it? No, probably not. But it's a very expensive game to be playing. And so when people say to me, well, how much does IVF cost? I tend to say anything between £5,000 and £10,000 on average. But like I say, for some people it costs a lot more than that. There's all these different things that you can add, and I think you have to be really savvy when you look at it. I think you have to go through, you have to break everything down, you have to have a look, right, what do we need, what don't we need? I don't think IVF is the place to, or is the thing, sorry, should I say, to sit there and go through and go, we could do with this, but we'll go without. Because really, some of these tests, although yes, they're a few £100s, they may pick something up that hasn't been picked up before, and ultimately you want to optimise your treatment. And if you're going to be cutting things out that realistically you could do with, you're not helping yourself. Most of us going into this would pay anything if we had the money, but the problem is nobody has an unlimited money tree. It is something that, you know, when you get it on the NHS, I think it obviously costs the NHS a lot of money. But if you think that the NICE guidelines are 3 rounds, and some people do get 3 rounds on the NHS, if you think that the guidelines are 3 rounds, if you look at the prices of care that I just showed you, you're looking £8,000. If it was to take 3 rounds, you're looking at £24,000 just to be the average. And that is more than people put as a deposit on a house. And so when it doesn't work and people see, like, kind of keep saying to you, well, you can try again, it's a bit like, well, can I? Have we got the money? It's hard to sit here and say, yes, IVF costs this amount, because it doesn't. There is no set amount. And I think some clinics, not all, but I do think a lot of the time it does seem like they have just picked a figure out of thin air. If you look at 5 different clinics, 5 different random clinics, there are big differences for very similar things. And I always remember speaking to somebody once, actually, from a certain clinic, who we didn't go with in the end. And I remember him saying that sometimes it's like clinics pick the prices out of thin air. It is very hard because when you were in this position, you were almost at your most vulnerable. And when you're in that state of mind, you would pay anything. And I know that when we were first going to do this, I was very much of the mind of, well, I don't care how much it's going to cost. We'll remortgage, we'll get a loan, we'll max out every single credit card we can get our hands on, when really that's not the reality, and that's not something that I will do. It's an added pressure. Anyone who has ever saved for a house, anyone who has ever saved for anything, knows how hard it can be to save and still enjoy your life. And the thing with infertility is it almost feels like it robs you of your life, because your entire being revolves around creating a being, and that is literally everything. Like, you kind of put everything on hold because of it. So you won't go do that really adventurous weekend because there's a chance you might be going through IVF, and you won't go out drinking with your friends because you think, oh, well, should I really be drinking? And you will cut out the foods that you enjoy because you think, oh, well, you know, they're quite bad for me, and actually I need more of this and less of that. And, you know, it does literally control your entire life. So when it is also controlling your finances, it's incredibly hard because you can't enjoy your life. You know, I promised myself that this year I was going to throw myself into things and I was going to be more like why not than why. And if this round of IVF doesn't work and we have all that money to save, that is going to be very hard for me to do, because my disposable income, a lot of it is going to be going into savings to make sure that we can do it within a certain amount of time. You know, it's easy to sit here and say that I'm young and that I have plenty of time, and that's true, I do have plenty of time, but I don't have plenty of money. To save that much money repeatedly takes a long time. We can't, like most people my age that say they have time on their side, can try every month. They get 12 attempts in a year. With how much we are expected to save and spend, realistically, once this round is over, we're going to have to wait a year to 18 months. So that is a lot of time. I am going to be 18 months older by that point. I'm going to be almost 27, which again I know isn't old in terms of fertility. But then if that fails and we have to do that all again, I'm looking at 30. So it kind of goes on like that. Not quite 30, 29. But it goes on like that. So really, for everybody's 12 tries, in their 24 attempts to get pregnant, that's 2 for us, you know? And so the cost of it really is a big factor, and that's why I think it is so important to sit there and find a clinic that you really trust, that you really feel comfortable with, that you believe in, and that aren't just trying to flog you anything and everything. It is so easy to exploit people financially when they're vulnerable, and I'm not saying that clinics do that, but I do think some of them do know that you will pay anything. I don't know if anybody saw it, but there was an article in the paper this week about one clinic who offer Prosecco and cheese while discussing like egg freezing. I think it was egg freezing, or discussing something to do with IVF with you. And so when you go for a consultation, you are offered cheese and you are offered wine and all the rest of it. To me, that's not all right. Like, to me, that is exploiting you, because it isn't professional. I think there's one thing going to buy a wedding dress and then getting offered Prosecco and all the rest of it, but that's a celebration. IVF, I don't really see as a celebration, and I understand the need to be positive about it and the need to feel really good, but I don't think giving people alcohol, when making such a big decision like that, is a wise idea. I think then, you know, it's a known fact that alcohol plays with your mind, it plays with your emotions, your reactions, your ability to think logically. And, you know, you might think, oh, well, one glass, what's the harm? Whereas to me, I just think it's not appropriate at that time when you're handing over that much money and signing contracts that are going to change the rest of your life. So I don't know, I think just have your wits about you. But ultimately, like I say, you know, you're the only one that can decide where you want to go. You're the only one that can decide who you trust. So definitely when you're having a look into it, kind of have a look at all these extra add-ons, see what's compulsory, what's not, what's required. And have a chat with them, you know, before you go to an initial consultation. Go to an open evening, and you know, these things most of the time are free. You can go and have a look around, decide whether or not you like it, get a feel for the place before you then pay for that initial consultation, and you're having a scan and you're talking about your issues. So I do think they are beneficial, but you know, there are ways to get it cheaper. You know, you can have a look at different clinics. ABC IVF is the clinic that we went with, that is cheaper because it is natural shoebox IVF. It is very basic of basic IVF in the sense that your dosage of stims, so your injections, your drugs, are a lot lower than what they would be anywhere else. And it's very, very mild, so you don't get many eggs. But for me, that was I wanted to keep it as natural as possible, so it was a better option for us, and it saved us a lot of money. So it's worth looking at, but places like that do tend to have stricter requirements, in that if you're not going to respond to a low dosage of drugs, they won't treat you because they know that you're just wasting your money. So it's worth having a look around. But generally, the answer to the question is, IVF doesn't cost a specific amount. IVF can cost anything between £3,000 and £16,000 if you go for the unlimited. There are different packages here and there, but generally on average I would say that you are looking at around £5,000 just for IVF, and around £6,000-7,000 for ICSI. But like I say, it's definitely worth having a look at the different clinics. Don't take my word for it, have a look around. But yeah, a lot of clinics do list it all online, but do make sure that you get what you're paying for, and that you are happy that you are going to be receiving a treatment that you are happy with, and care that you are happy with while you are under their care, because you're paying them at the end of the day. And as much as I don't like to see IVF as business, it is business. You're handing over money. For them, it is business, and so you need to make sure that they are giving you what you are paying them to do. So I think that's really important. But there you go, that I hope has answered the question. I know that was quite long-winded. I know I've not been able to give you a specific answer, but it was a question that I get asked an awful lot. So I hope I've given you a rough idea. Sorry, I thought I'd drop my tea again then, but it wasn't, it was my phone. Phew. But generally, yeah, there is a range, but it depends what you're looking for. So have a look online, have a look at all the different clinics. If you don't qualify for the NHS, if you do qualify for the NHS, utilise it. You pay your national insurance, why not? So I know sometimes the waiting lists are horrific, and I know obviously people have their reasons why they decide to go private, but all in all, that's that. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but I did pop on my Instagram earlier this week. Next week I do actually have a meeting with my local MP. So he actually got in contact with me, which is quite exciting. He got in contact with me because I had been tweeting about all the cuts to the NHS, and the removal of IVF from the NHS, and he read my blog, got in contact with me, said some really nice things about me on my blog, and has asked me whether or not I would like to meet him, as he would like my help in raising awareness, especially regarding infertility and mental health, and seeing what we can do to make a positive change, if you like, and raise awareness in Peterborough and in Parliament. So that is something that I'm really quite nervous about, actually. I do feel quite a lot of anxiety over that, but at the same time I'm really excited. So I do feel like this year is going to have a lot of positive things in store, on the blog front, on the vlog front, and all the rest of it. So do keep your eyes peeled with that. I am quite often putting things on my Instagram stories at the moment, just kind of putting feelers out about certain things, getting reactions to certain things, as I've got a few ideas up my sleeve that I'd quite like to work with. So yeah, but that is it. And I know I said it at the beginning of the video, but thank you so much for all of your time and dedication to me over the last 18 weeks. I am really blown away that so many of you sit here and listen to me waffle on. So like I said earlier, do make sure that you subscribe. The videos are going to carry on. I'm not just suddenly stopping talking about IVF. Everything is going to get a bit more exciting, a bit more in depth, a bit more personal, a bit more vlog-like rather than just sitting here and me just talking. So yeah, I'm really excited about what's in store now for the next year, but particularly the next few months. And you know, even if it doesn't work, I've got that mindset of I have so many things that if it doesn't work, I am going to do this year. So I have something to look forward to. So either way, there is going to be content for you. But yeah, the IVF vlogs will start quite literally over the next couple of weeks. And in the meantime, there are going to be things that I'm throwing at you. I am still going to try and upload every Saturday. So make sure that you hit the big thumbs up video if you like this video, or if you like any of my videos, and make sure that you subscribe and follow me on Instagram. I will see you next Saturday. I am not sure what for yet, but there is definitely going to be a video for you next Saturday. So yeah, I'll see you then. But thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.